Howdy howdy. There have been a multitude of hated soda flavors over the years, or sodas that have just failed miserably on the market. Flavors like Mountain Dew meets Spicy Cheetos, and Pepsi the Marshmallow soda.
Peach Coke? Stop.
We're in for some real carbonated nightmares here. So let's check out the 10 most hated or failed sodas. And if you do happen to like any of the drinks in this video, please don't take my riffing to heart. It's just my silly personal opinion, and I'm certainly not criticizing you for liking them. There's no accounting for taste. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you enjoy whatever you like. Anyway, let's begin. What do we got for number 10? Mountain Dew, Flamin' Hot. I could see someone eating Mountain Dew and Spicy Cheetos separately, but mixing them together into some sort of spicy, sweet citrus concoction? Well, that just sounds silly. But somehow, somewhere, someone thought this was a great idea. So they mixed Mountain Dew with Spicy Cheetos and voila! You have the beverage equivalent to pepper spraying yourself in the face. Well, Mountain Dew basically described this flavor as an orange soda with strong hot chili powder. Blech. And as you might imagine, this flavor didn't go down so great with many people at all. O'Malley described his experience with the drink in an online review.
The flavour starts innocently enough with the dancing subtlety of sweet citrus. Then you notice a jolting electricity stomping over your tongue like a cage of fire ants.
Oh, that's a vivid enough description to make me itchy. And apparently some of my community agrees with O'Malley. When I asked about this on Twitter, Melanie said,
I am a huge fan of Mountain Dew and Flaming Hot Cheetos separately, but I am amazed that anyone let a drink this bad hit the shelves. This was absolute awfulness.
And the smell hit people hard too. Agicon said,
It doesn't taste that bad, but don't breathe it in. You'll end up coughing and splattering.
Luckily, the release of this citrus flaming hot disaster only lasted about 8 weeks. Mountain Dew kept it very short limited edition and just removed them. And what's our ninth hated soda? Pepsi Peeps. Have you heard of Peeps before? You know, those overly colourful marshmallows shaped like chicks and bunnies? Well, apparently someone thought it was a great idea to combine them with Pepsi. Okay. Now, you probably know what Pepsi tastes like, so I won't go into detail on that. It's a fairly sweet cola, but when this combination was announced, it certainly attracted attention, but mostly WTF attention. How do you combine a fluffy marshmallow with a carbonated soft drink? I mean, I get marshmallows in hot chocolate, but Pepsi? Luckily, we've got some brave people who are willing to try this. And unsurprisingly, it got some mixed reactions. Our buddy Nick O'Malley reviewed the taste, and he said,
It's mostly a 1-2 punch of vanilla and cola. It retains the vibe of Pepsi, but marries it with the marshmallow flavour. The similarity to vanilla Pepsi is striking.
Adina also reviewed the taste. She said,
It's supposed to taste like marshmallow, and I got that, but it was the dried out, artificial taste of the little marshmallows you get in cereal. After the initial fizziness of the drink, it's chased with a raspberry ice, then something like Windex.
It tastes like a window cleaner. That doesn't sound too delightful, does it? But if you are still intrigued, as of this video, you can still get this Windexy vanilla marshmallow Pepsi crossover. Some like the flavor, but many were left disgusted. There were even kids that were disgusted by the soda. Aloha Mum said,
My kids don't usually drink soft drinks, but these were a treat from the Easter Bunny.
"Oh."
Both kids were grossed out. We are a huge fan of Peeps, but this was not a winner.
And given many kids will drink nearly anything with sugar in it, this does not speak wonders about Peeps' taste. I remember this one. Number 8. CocaCola Life. Oh boy, what an invigorating name. Don't you just feel a zest for life when you see it? What if we made it an ugly fluorescent green? This is what we call a mid-calorie soda. Instead of say 160 calories for a full sugar can, or maybe 1 to 2 calories for a diet can, it's instead partially sweetened with stevia, making it about 60 to 90 calories instead. I remember first seeing this advertised and thinking, What the hell is this and why is it green? Personally, I never really liked the marketing of Coke Life either. For example, this weird ad seems to want us to associate Coca-Cola with the experience of having a newborn, struggling with the terrible twos, and then having another child. I mean, I guess I'm happy for them. What if the idea of having kids horrifies you and just makes you anxious? I used to ask myself, does that mean Coke Life isn't for my family?
I guess not. No battery acid for us then, honey.
Anyway, all the Coke Life ads seem to be some variation of this existentially unsettling flash forward in time, showing off people's lives over the years and their lifelong commitments to Coca-Cola. As a result, whenever I saw Coke Life, I always felt weirdly unsettled. But anyway, the really weird Life marketing aside, what did people think of the taste? Well, on Lifehacker, they had multiple people try it out. And interestingly, when blinded, many people could not tell the difference between Coke and Coke Life, which is frankly really impressive. I actually think they got a really good recipe here.
I don't know.
KFFM even liked the taste better than regular full sugar Coke. He said it had a less harsh citrus taste to it.
I may prefer this over original Coca-Cola.
Personally, for me, I think it just came down to why not just drink Coke Zero instead? I mean, sure, I like stevia fine, it's a nice enough sweetener, and it is technically more natural if you're into that, but aspartame in Coke Zero works fine for me too, and that's only 1 to 2 calories. So why wouldn't a low-calorie audience like me just go for the lowest calorie option? As far as I could find, Coke Life has underperformed since its first debut in 2013, and from my own experience, I have never seen someone actually drink a Coca-Cola Life. It was discontinued in most countries by 2015, but finally discontinued in USA by 2020. For years when I worked in service stations, these drinks would just sit stagnant on the store shelves, just leering at me with their ugly greens. I never needed to restock Coke Life. I maybe sold 1 to 2 bottles of Coke Life in 6 years, while regular Coke I could never get it out of the boxes fast enough. With a lukewarm reception around the world and plenty of brand confusion, this Coca-Cola Life ironically failed at life. And for 7 Lucky 7, 7-Up Gold. Ugh, what is it with these sodas and mixing in spices? 7-Up Gold definitely falls into the failed category. This strange formula was actually dreamed up by Dr. Pepper, and when Dr. Pepper and 7-Up merged, it was their mission to produce this recipe that had previously been abandoned. This part cinnamon spicy, part cola drink hit shelves in 1987. But the spicy soda failed to impress. It's almost like putting spice in your soda is a bad idea. So this disaster lasted on shelves about 1 year before it disappeared. Going beyond what traditional 7-Up is, 7-Up Gold was a darker, spicy beverage. At the time, 7-Up had a slogan for caffeine: never had it, never will. But 7-Up Gold definitely had caffeine. But what actually went wrong here? Well, 7-Up is traditionally meant to be a version of lemonade. So adding spices, cola, and caffeine to lemonade just confused the palates of consumers. And I'm not surprised. I was confused as trying to figure out what this thing actually was. Is it a lemonade, or a cola, or a Dr. Pepper, or what? In an announcement, Roger, the company's then president, said,
People had a clear understanding about what 7-Up should be. A clear and clean beverage that contained no caffeine. 7-Up Gold was darker and had a caffeine kick.
Cinnamon.
You're
Cinnamon
right.
comes real. Woo, spicy.
Comes late.
Woo.
So it really didn't fit the 7-Up image. It left people confused.
Yeah, I'm definitely confused. According to the Soda Wiki, 7-Up wanted just 1% of the cola market, since it was a $26 billion market at the time. 26 billion? That's a lot of battery acid. This is why they tried making 7-Up Gold, the confusing lemonade, cola, non-cola. Unfortunately, 7-Up Gold barely managed 0.1% of the market, so it was a complete failure. Anyway, the drink quickly faded into obscurity and has since become a long-forgotten soda myth. And coming in at number 6, Dr. Pepper Red Fusion. 2002 was certainly a creative year for Dr. Pepper. You see, in its 120-year history making strange peppery sodas, they eventually decided to make an even weirder flavor. A weirder flavor than a drink called Dr. Pepper. Apparently this red fusion was meant to boost the sales of Dr. Pepper. I guess they thought a soda called Dr. Pepper just wasn't weird enough. Let's give it a red fusion. Red fusion was a strongly cherry-flavored soda. They had 4 different ad campaigns going for the teen market. Dr. Pepper Red Fusion was going to be hip, so it sang hip-hop and boasted it was the lone wolf or the loose cannon or the rogue cop. They even taglined it, "Who's your soda?" Oh, I see what they did there. Very good. Unfortunately, this bold 2000s marketing campaign failed to impress much of anyone. So, with terribly low sales, Red Fusion was a failure, and they ceased production in 2004. Funnily enough though, many reviewers I found actually enjoy the taste. I even found a petition to bring back the soda. On the petition, Jesse said,
Red Fusion was the bomb. Please bring it back.
"The bomb. How 90s?" Gabe said,
I was so sad when this was discontinued. When I heard the news, I bought all the remaining stock at my supermarket. I wish they'd bring it back. It was delicious.
Well, I'm glad someone liked it, but with only 354 signatures, it failed to gain traction and was never re-released. But I do want to know, how would fans describe the taste?
It tastes like Dr. Pepper with cherry. I'd say it was only vaguely different to the original Dr. Pepper flavour, but it was unique enough.
Not a glowing review, but to those 300-odd signature signers, my condolences for your loss. And what do we got at number 5? DNL 7-Up Upside Down. Around 2002, suddenly all the soft drinks wanted to diversify. For example, Coke brought out Vanilla Coke and Pepsi brought out Pepsi Blue. And yeah, some of these became popular favorites like Vanilla Coke, while other revelations like Pepsi Blue failed miserably. 7-Up is one of those soft drink brands that has tried and failed many times. And one of their more interesting failures was DNL. Now you may be thinking, DNL, what a weird name. But if you look at the logo upside down, it becomes 7-Up. DNL was designed by 7-Up to be the opposite of 7-Up. What could possibly go wrong with that? So upside down 7-Up was caffeinated and given a fruity flavor, comparable to its competition Mountain Dew. The soda was intended to make waves, and it certainly had some crazy advertising campaigns, such as during the release of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. On DNL's release, 7-Up's Vice President of Marketing had this to say.
Beginning next week, consumers will see things from a different perspective, a flipped perspective when they taste DNL.
But despite all the marketing DNL got, it just failed to get any traction. Not enough people were drinking it or even trying it. And those who didn't often stick with it.
That's very lime.
Yeah.
It is turning my taste upside down.
And by 2006, DNL had ceased production and was no more. And in its place they released 7-Up Plus. Unfortunately, 7-Up Plus also failed. Can 7-Up get like a participation award or something? Anyway, discontinued or not, how did it taste? Well, a taste tester called Drunk Nostalgia tried it out, and that name makes them sound like a respectable source of information. He put aside a 6-pack of the soda before it was discontinued in 2006.
No, it tastes like the green Freezy Pops. That's what it tastes like.
Exactly. Awful.
Green Freezy Pops. Maybe that was why it was discontinued. Anything else?
It tastes like dish soap.
If you've ever forgotten to rinse the dish soap off your spoon before using it, you'll know this is not a good taste to emulate. I guess this soda was better left flipped upside down into the bin. And for number 4, Pepsi's Mug Root Beer.
We drink mug.
Root beer has been a favorite for Americans since the 18th century. Whether you drink it as a straight soda or as a root beer float from your local diner, it's enjoyed by many Americans and Canadians with a sweet tooth. On the packaging of this drink, we get a bulldog menacing us. But mug root beer was commonly described as watery and unimpressive. And given this bulldog looks like he's about to punch me in the face, well, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. Soda Jerk summed up his thoughts on the taste quite eloquently.
This tastes much more watery than A&W or Bark. It just doesn't have the bite. In fact, the taste is rather muted and far less impressive.
And they certainly weren't the only ones feeling this way. Sky on Amazon said,
Yuck! What on earth happened to mug root beer? It used to be a favourite, but now it's just slightly flavoured water.
Pretty subpar then. Anyway, personally, I just recommend A&W. A big mug of root beer at an A&W with a little ice cream was actually my very first memory of visiting Canada. And coming in at number 3, Pepsi Ginger. Oh, Ginger and Pepsi, that just sounds lovely, doesn't it? Carbonated soda gives a certain tingle of its own. Why add ginger to it? And apparently I'm not alone in thinking this was a terrible idea, because Pepsi Ginger is not a loved classic. When I asked my community for suggestions on terrible sodas, this was a frontrunner. Pepsi Ginger was released in 2016 and was intended to be a permanent flavor, but it was discontinued fast, within 8 months in fact. It was very clear this soda had failed miserably. But why? I mean, ginger ale and Pepsi are okay. It can't have been that bad, could it? Oh, these are failed sodas. Of course they can be that bad. In my community alone, Crystal Pep said,
I'm usually a fan of Pepsi and ginger ale separately, but when combined, it was appalling. It was basically a spicy Pepsi, which is way worse than Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew. Well, I guess they're a fan of Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal Pep was not alone in this. Many reviewers said they were fans of ginger ale and Pepsi, but tasting this fusion of flavors left their excitement pounded into the pavement.
The Pepsi doesn't have that sweetness to it.
Some commenters were even less kind.
So gross! At first it smelled good, but when I drank it, it actually burned going down. Way too overpowering of ginger, kind of like chewing a ginger stick. Absolute waste of money.
On Facebook, Jared described the best way to enjoy Pepsi Ginger. They said to do as follows.
First, grasp the bottle in your dominant hand. Turn the bottle so the cap is facing directly over the garbage. With your free hand, remove the cap and allow the contents to flow straight in the trash.
Number 2. Sprite Remix. The soda remix that no one asked for. We spoke previously of the great flavor revolution of 2002 with Dr. Pepper Fusion, and Sprite Remix is another example of that year's great innovations. It was a non-caffeinated fruity soda that Sprite released in US and Canada, and honestly, I quite like the design and colors of this one. I'm caffeine sensitive, so if this had been in Australia, I gladly would have tried it. They came in 3 flavors: tropical, berry clear, and Aruba jam. Just hearing it makes me feel like a stupid tourist in Hawaii. Unfortunately, by 2005, the writing was on the wall. It was very clear that Sprite Remix was just bombing. So Coca-Cola canned the range. Thanks, man. And the drink was rapidly pulled from shelves. It all happened so quickly that some people were left wondering, did the soda ever exist? Or was it all just a figment of my imagination? No, it did exist, it just failed. But there was a small collection of fans, and Coca-Cola noticed this. In a 2015 press release, Coca-Cola said,
Fans have thirsted for the return of this popular Sprite tropical flavour for years, and it's great to finally bring it back to reward their enthusiasm. Yay!
So we later got a limited edition release of the tropical flavour. But how did the drink actually taste? Well, Old Nerd Reviews did a review on the re-release. He had this to say on it.
Definitely a tropical fruity flavour. It's the regular lime flavour of Sprite, layered with pineapple and a muddle of other fruits. It's a bit tart from the pineapple.
Drunk Nostalgia tried it too, and he certainly didn't seem blown away. On the plus side, he did say it'd probably be good for a hangover. And for a group that calls themselves Drunk Nostalgia, that might be handy. Number 1. Diet Coke. So full disclaimer, I love diet drinks. So by talking about this, I'm not trying to demonize sodas that use sugar replacements. I'd much rather see people drinking diet soda than full sugar soda.
There's an abundance of evidence that an overconsumption of sugar is contributing to health problems. There's a lack of evidence that artificial sweeteners are doing the same.
That being said, let's talk about our friends at Coca-Cola, the bringers of our favorite battery acid. Diet Coke may well be the biggest black sheep on the soda market. but what fascinates me is it's certainly never been a failure. It still does good sales, but it's simultaneously hated by so many. It's hated, but it sells well. The conflict is just bizarre to me. I mean, other diet drinks are often loved. For example, Pepsi Max, some prefer it to regular Pepsi. Coke Zero has a pretty good reputation, definite fans out there. Diet Coke, not so much. You don't often hear people saying, "Oh boy, Diet Coke, my favorite."
Sure, Jan.
In fact, the whole reason Coke Zero was developed was Diet Coke was avoided by much of the male demographic. Why? Well, Diet Coke was seen as a feminine drink.
Gotta watch my figure. Hey, somebody's gotta watch it.
Oh no, but full sugar Coke, apparently that's a man's drink. Because I guess diabetes is masculine now. I don't know. Anyway.
Diet Coke? Were you my mom?
A study was done by Sullivan University on Coke, and they found the same thing. In their studies, they found the majority of male survey respondents didn't consider calories important when buying soda. Diet Coke was originally introduced in 1982 for the calorie-conscious audience. But I often hear so many complaints about the taste compared to Coke Zero that I often wonder how it stays so relevant. What do our trusty taste testers say? Chumpacabra said,
The real magic is Coke Zero. Much better taste, much better fizz.
Jar Jar Jacobs, I really love these names, he said this.
Syrupy, melted crayon tasting trash.
Ouch, harsh. The snail dude had this to say.
I just don't get why people like this. I can't stand the taste of it. It's so bitter. Yeah.
Even in my own community poll, I found that more than 50% of people didn't like the taste of Diet Coke, or they'd never even given it a try. Personally, I don't mind the taste. When I used to drink soda, I'd have Diet Coke all the time. But what is it about Diet Coke that makes it taste so bad to so many people? Well, the most common complaint I've heard is that metallic taste some people speak of. Most people assume this is because Diet Coke is sweetened with aspartame. But according to Live Science, it isn't actually the aspartame that's causing the metallic taste. They found this metallic taste has more to do with how the soda tastes in the mouth, also known as mouthfeel. High fructose corn syrup also has this effect on mouthfeel. And without that thick mouthfeel, it's harder to mask the acidic carbonation on the tongue. Personally, this makes sense to me as I have aspartame in my decaf every morning, and it tastes great to me. But I do get that metallic taste in Coca-Cola. I think Diet Coke still has an audience for the same reason that New Coke failed. Since 1982, many people have been used to that taste of Diet Coke. Some have grown to like it, while others have always simply drunk it just to avoid sugar. And that's fine, but Coke Zero did come along and take a permanent chunk of the Diet Coke market. Personally though, I'd just go a nice cold iced tea. And if you think I missed a particularly bad or failed soda, or you have your own thoughts on these, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I might see you next time. Today's member question is from Stay Random. There are a lot of great questions, so I'll answer another good one next video. Their question is, how did SpongeBob SquarePants become your favorite cartoon? Nearly 10 years of reviewing cartoons, and SpongeBob is that one cartoon I always come back to. I love the underwater setting, I love the characters, and I connect a lot with SpongeBob as a character. A bit like juggling, it just feels a little bit part of me, and amidst difficult times, there's nothing I'd like to give you more than just a smidge of the joy I get from this silly cartoon.